Good evening.
Numbers make my head spin. How can I make this easy?
Okay. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to day 2 of our FDP program. Yesterday, we just saw the basics of natural language processing and artificial intelligence. After that, we saw a basic introduction about machine learning. Today, we just going to discuss about the most important algorithms that forms the backbone of ML model. Okay. Before getting to the topic, first we need to know about what is meant by algorithm. Algorithm is nothing but it is a step-by-step procedure, to complete a task, and also it is said to be as a it is an inbuilt function to solve any other program. Okay, wow. Today we just begin with the simplest and most widely used algorithm, that was a linear regression. It is not only easy to understand, but also the foundation of many advanced ML models. Okay, before getting to this linear regression, we just recall the general structure of machine learning workflow. First process data collection. We're just going to recall this one. Recall this once again. Okay, wow. First process was data collection. In this data collection, we just collect the data from different data sources based upon our project. And next process was pre-processing. In the pre-processing, we just clean all the data and format the data into proper format. And remove the unwanted columns and unwanted rows, these and all. Next process was feature extraction. In this feature extraction, three process takes place. That was an word into numerical format, test and train split, and then X and Y split. After that, we need to choose algorithm. That was a model selection. After we choosing algorithm, we need to train a model. We need to give a input data to that model, and we need to train that model. And the next process was evaluation, model evaluation. In that model evaluation, we need to check algorithm accuracy. Which having a more accuracy, we need to deploy that model, so that we need to evaluate that model. After that, prediction. The prediction is nothing but we just give any input data, and we need to check the prediction level of that algorithm. This was considered as a test cases. After predicting, we need to deploy that model. This is a process of machine learning workflow. These all we just discussed in our previous sessions. Okay. Now we directly move on to linear regression model. Okay. Now we directly move on to linear regression model. Okay. Linear regression. Linear regression is a supervised learning algorithm. Supervised learning means nothing but it having a labeled data. It capable of if in case we having a x and y value, means we can use linear regression model. Linear regression model is used for predicting a continuous values, and it assumes a linear relationship between the input variables and the target variables. Okay, some of the examples like house price prediction and stock market price prediction, and then salary prediction. These are all some examples done by using a linear regression model. Okay. Okay. Similarly, we having advantages as well as disadvantages in this linear regression model. advantages was it was simple comparing to any other algorithm. It was too simple and it was a traditional one. It was a basic one, and it works well with a small data set. It will it takes only less time comparing to some other algorithms, and it is only capable of doing a small data. And the limitations was disadvantage was not suitable for a complex data. It can't able to find a complex patterns of data. That was a main advantage disadvantages of this linear regression model. Okay, first we will start with one demo. Okay, wow. First, if in case you want to use any other algorithm, means first process was you need to install that algorithm. This is a syntax to install that algorithm. Pip install scikit-learn. Pip means Python install package that already I said. After that, we need to import pandas, numpy, and matplotlib. These are the Python libraries. Pandas is used to import any external CSV file or else external data set, and numpy is used to handle numerical values and the array values, dimension values present inside our project. And matplotlib is used to visualize the data into a graphical representations like bar chart, pie chart, and scatter plot, these kind of things. From that matplotlib, we are going to use Python plot. This PD and NP, this PLT, these all are alias name of that algorithm. Okay. Now we are going to create one variable in the name of df, and I am going to call the pandas function, and then I am using inbuilt function like read underscore CSV. That also we already discussed about that. And I need to call one CSV file in the name of linear regression houseplace.csv. This was my CSV file. That means this was my data set. This was manually created data set. This was the data manually created data. I just only used 5 data. What I am going to do means, based upon the area, I want to predict the price. By using this 2 data, it was not possible. Now I just going to check the functionality of linear regression only, how it works. That's only I am going to check. So I just take only a 5 data. If in case really you want to predict any price of a house, means you need to use lots of data like a balcony, bathrooms, and then bedrooms. These are all you need to consider. After only we can able to predict the prices. But I just going to check the demo only. So I just use a 2 columns and 5 rows. Okay, this was my data set 2600, and if in case the area was 2600, means the price was 5,50,000. Likewise 3000 means this much amount, 3000, 2000 means this much amount. Likewise I given manually, and then I want to plot the data, plot that every data. First I just importing a matplotlib and then a pandas library. This no needed. If in case you imported at first, means for as first cell, means you need not to import it again. It's enough for them. After that, with the help of PLT, I just giving a title as house price, and then I label here. I doesn't give any label. If in case I give, means it will shows x-axis and y-axis, name for x-axis and then the y-axis. And I want to use a scatter plot. Here I am mentioning a scatter plot, and also I am mentioning df.area and df.price. This is a x and y value. This was my x value and this was my y value. And color was red and market was plus. Okay. Here I just only plotting. I am not going to, didn't separate x and y value. I just giving a column name. I want to plot 2 columns. One was an area, another one was a price. So I am mentioning df.area because all the data is present inside this df variable only. So I just mentioning a df.area and df.price, and I am mentioning color and then a marker. After I given like this, it will plot like this data. Okay. Now I want to add an algorithm. That means I want to load the data into one algorithm. That time I need to install this scikit-learn library. It is a container. It just load all the feature extraction process and then algorithms. From that sklearn inside linear model, I want to import linear regression. This was a library. In that library, having a linear model. It was a model. Inside this model, I having an algorithm in the name of linear regression. So I importing that. After that, I just creating reg as a variable name, and then I pass my linear regression algorithm to that reg. And after that, by using a fit syntax, I fitting the x and y value. Here only you need to decide which was your x value and which was your y value. By using a which value, we going to predict which value, that we need to give it here only. If in case the data was in 2 dimension, means that was a x value. That if the data is in normal, means that was an y value. After I giving like this, it just understand this was a x value and this was a y value. Likewise, the machine can that algorithm can understand. Okay, after I use a fit syntax, it just trained. The linear regression model was trained. Now it having a different patterns. It have a ability to predict a data. That means it can a ability to predict a future based upon our past data. Now this reg for variable having this linear regression model, and then predict is an inbuilt function. This variable having a model, I call my model, and predict is an inbuilt function to predict the data. And then I need to call my x value. I need to give any value. If in case I give any x value, means it will predict a y value. Okay, here I given a value for 4,000 only. I given area up to 4,000 only. Here I ask a questions like a 5,000. What the machine can do means 4,000 means this much amount, 3,600 means this much amount. Likewise, it can understand. Okay, 5,000 means it will estimate it up to this. Likewise, it just understand and give a output. This was an output of the model. How it performed this output means by based upon a slope formula. Y is equal to mx plus c. It just calculate the coefficient and intercept value and add and multiply with that x value. This was my coefficient value. It will multiply with my the coefficient value is multiply with my x value. That means multiply with my question. After that, add with the intercept value. This was a formula happens inside this algorithm. Every algorithm having one formula. This algorithm runs based upon the slope formula. That is nothing but it will create a line like this. It will create a line like this. This line will create it throughout the graph, and it will fix to one line which having a minimum number of error. The minimum of error nothing but it just calculate the distance between the pointed value and this line and this graph. If in get this distance having the minimum number of error, means it will fix this as a permanent line. If in case you ask questions like I want to know the price of 3,500 square meter, means it just directly draw a line like this and give a opposite value as a price value. Okay, these are the properties happens inside this linear regression model. Okay, it was a simple model only. It can ability to do small data set, small kind of data set, but it was a faster comparing to all other. It was a faster and it was a base for many algorithms. Okay, okay. Then next we will move to next algorithm. Okay. Now we will see one example for a regression model. Regression model means we just going to predict a value. Here we predict a value. So it was an example for regression model. So we directly move on to another one model, that was a classification model. Okay, this was a regression model. So now we directly move on to a classification model. You can use any code editor. Now before this was on Google Colab. Before I used Google Colab. Now I want to use a Jupyter notebook. So get into our file location and then search Jupyter notebook and then I give enter. It will launch a Jupyter notebook in this file location. Okay, now the Jupyter notebook is launched. So then we need to get into our folder. Okay, now we will start one classification algorithm. Okay, now we just have seen a linear regression. Let's move on to another fundamental algorithm, that was an logistic regression. Okay, forget that despite the name, it is mainly used for a classification task only. It having in that name having a regression, but it is used for a classification. Right, that is, this is not used for a regression. Name wasn't logistic regression, but it is used for a classification. Where by using a linear regression, what we do, we just predict a value. By using a logistic regression, we will predict like a yes or no, pass or fail, happens or not happens. Likewise, we can classify the classes. Okay, by using this algorithm, we can do a projects like a email spam detection. This also happens by using these kind of algorithm only, not this algorithm, these kind of algorithm. After that, student will get pass or not, whether the disease is present or not. Likewise, we can classify by using this logistic regression algorithm. Okay, first, okay, we will see advantages and disadvantages also. Okay, it is so likewise a linear regression also, likewise linear regression, it is also easy, and it was faster, and it is handle less amount of data. Same like as disadvantages. It can't able to do a more complex data. That is a main advantages of logistic regression, because it was a tradition, because it was a first algorithm. So that this much of advantages and disadvantages. Okay. Next, same thing only. First, we need to import pandas, because we're going to use we want to use our data set. So importing pandas, and we will need to visualize the data. So we are using matplotlib. And the same thing. First, we need to create a data frame. That means a variable in the name of df, and then I will pass my data set. In the now this df having this kind of data set. After seeing the data set, we need to fix whether we want to use a regression model or else a logistic model. That means we want to use a regression or else a classification. We need to check our target value. Before, our target value is like a value. Before, our target column having a value. Likewise, now the target term is like a zero sum. That means that in a binary term. So we need to use a classification algorithm. First, we just plotting the data for seeing the structure for that algorithm. Before, the in the linear regression having a structure like this graph. In the logistic regression having a structure like S shaped. It having a structure like this S-shaped and fixed one threshold value. If in case it can fix to any threshold value based upon their errors like 0 0.4, 0 0.3, 0 0.4.5. Likewise, it can set any threshold value. If in case the input data is present above the threshold value, means that was an yes. That if in case the data that test data present below the test threshold value, means that was no. Likewise, it will predict. Okay, I use the scatter plot, same thing only, what I did before. After that, I need to import the model. Okay, before that, we does not split the test and train split. We directly created imported the data set, and then we pass the data set to a model and then predict the data. Now we want to split the data set for training and testing purpose. First, I need to import test and train split that was present inside this model selection. That model selection is present inside this scikit-learn library. After that, I created a 4 variable xtrain, xtest, and ytrain, ytrace, and I will pass my data. This was an inbuilt function for purpose of splitting, and then this was my x value. Before I said, as a x value it is in 2 dimension, y value is in normal value. So I given df.age as a x value and bought insurance as a y value. You can use any data. You can fix any x value and y value. Here I fixed age as a x value and bought insurance as a y value. And as a test value, I just giving a 0.2. That means 0.20% will move on to testing purpose and balance 80% will move on to training purpose. Here in the X train having any 8 data, it will shuffle and then give any 8 data, and then it will take a test value as balance to data, which was not present inside this training value. Okay, now we will split the data. Here I checking everything in a numerical format, so I no need to convert word into numerical format, so we directly move on to next process. Next process was we need to select a model. Here as a first model I selecting logistic regression. From the sklearn inside the linear model I just importing logistic regression, logistic regression, and then created a variable in the name of model, and then pass this logistic regression, and in this model having the all the properties of the logistic regression, and then I call the model and using a fit syntax and pass the 80% of data. Here I splitted for training purpose 80% data, for testing purpose 20% data. I directly fitted only that 80% of data. Balance data I will use for a testing purpose, and then calling a model.predict, and then you ask the x value, given x value, if in case their age was 10 means they will bought insurance or not. Likewise I given, it gives like a yes, because my data is not a clean format, I given only a 10 data, this was not in a clean format, so it predicts like this. Based upon the pattern it just understand, okay, likewise happens means we are not able to give, likewise happens means we can give, likewise it just understand. The machine learning is not a 100% accuracy. That means it just predict only, not give a actual value. It just give a predicted value based upon the past data and the pattern. It just predict a new thing, not get the actual data. And maybe in the machine learning, maybe it may be false or else true, but that was not decided by ourselves. May it will be happens. Likewise, we can predict it by using a machine learning or else AI anything. Okay. Next, we are going to see one of the important algorithm, decision tree. Decision tree is nothing but it is also a supervised learning algorithm. Before we see a regression algorithm, classification algorithm, likewise we see. But this was a supervised learning algorithm. That means we can use this algorithm for both classification as well as a regression. How it works means it just splitting the data into smaller part based upon their condition, and the formatting like a tree-like structure, and also it having a three types of nodes. One was on root node and decision node and leaf node. This root node is nothing but a fitting model, that was a main value, and the decision node is nothing but an intermediate question present between that, and the leaf node as usual leaf node is an output of a data. By using a root node, we can initialize the data. By using a decision nodes, we just predict all the values. That means read the data which present intermediate between the leaf node and the root node. And the leaf node is an final output. We can get the class. These are these, yes or no. Likewise, we can get a data. And this splitting is based upon the purity and impurity, like entropy, variation and reduction. Based upon this, he just split the data. Okay, like logistic regression, linear regression, decision tree also having advantages as well as disadvantages also. What are the advantages means it is easy to visualize. If in case you want to visualize the data means it is easier, and no need of feature scaling, and it just understand the human mimic also. We just try to mimic a human also. And then what a major disadvantage means it can overfit easily. That means it can understand the data more morely, and made it as overfitting. It was a main issue occurs in this decision tree algorithm. Okay, now we will see one demo of decision tree. Okay, first same thing. Don't use that data frame same variable for loading any data set. Use different variable name. Okay, next I created a df2 variable, and by using our calling a pandas library, and then by using a read underscore csv inbuilt function, I just load my salary.csv. This was my data set. This also manually created data set only. I created a 3 variable, that means 3 column, company, job, degree. Based upon these things, I want to predict whether they are getting a salary 100k or not. whether they are working in Google, sales executive, bachelors. That means they are not getting a more salary. They are getting less than 100K only. Likewise, by having some data, this was manually created. I just assume and created manually. I having only a 15 data. I want to train the model using this 15 data and want to create a different patterns and want to predict their output. Now I want to split a x and y value. Before we just directly fitted the x and y value inside the algorithm during a fitting process. Yeah, but now I having a 3 variable for x. So it was quite difficult for do that procedure. So we need to think another one procedure. That was I created a variable x and y and I loaded all the x terms, all the known terms in the x variable and target terms in the y variable. I dropped only a salary more than 100K. I dropped only this column and filled all other column in that x variable, and in that y variable I just only fit this target column. After that, I need to do a pre-processing. Before data set having only a numerical data, but here I having a text format also. Now I want to convert the text into numerical format. So I want to import this label encoder library. This label encoder having a properties like convert word into numerical format. So I just importing that, and then I created a 3 variable for company, for job, for degree. You can use one variable also, and loaded this label encoder in these 3 variables. Now these 3 variables also having the same properties of label encoder. Now I need to select one column name. Company n is a column name, and then I call my variable which having the label encoder, and by using a fit transform I fit that this company column to this new company n column. Likewise, doing the same thing. I want to fit the job into that new variable job after applying this fit transform. That like the same thing happens in the degree also. I want to apply this and in the new column. And head is used to check the first 5 values. Inside I mention any values, it will print that much of value. Okay, these are the variables. Okay, now I want to remove the unwanted terms. Here I having a twice company I having it twice. So these 3 variable no needed for me. So I need to remove these three variable and load only these 3 variables enough for me. So I created one variable in the name of new x and drop the unwanted columns like company, job, and then a degree. Now my new x having the complete value cleaned. My data was cleaned properly. After that, I need to import the decision tree algorithm from sklearn. Importing the tree. From the tree I want to import decision tree classifier. The decision tree, before I said decision tree having the properties of both classification as well as a regression, and then by using a fit syntax I fit that x and y value. Here I didn't split the data. You can also split the data for training and testing, and then you can use it. I directly loaded x and y value. So it's showing like a model accuracy as 1. It giving 100% accuracy. If in case you split the data means it will the accuracy will be reduced. And I want to ask the question. I want to check a test value also. So I just ask the x value and then predict a y value. 2 means they are working in 2 means what? They are working in a Google and working as a 0 means business manager and completed masters. I think completed masters means they will surely get more than 100K. It was predicted based upon my data, upon my past data. Okay, this is also one of the most important algorithm. Okay, next we will move on to support vector mission. Support vector mission, it is also another one of a important algorithm, because machine learning having some important algorithm. This SVM, random forest, boosting, and then MLP classifier. These are one of the important algorithm. So now we move on to support vector machine. It can able to do classification as well as regression. Okay. Support vector machine is a supervised learning algorithm. Same thing. It can able to do classification as well as regression. It is mainly used for classification, but it can do a regression. But it was mainly used for a classification only. And how it works means you just try to find a best boundaries that can be separate all the classes. You just divide all the classes by understanding the best boundaries of the data set. And it can try to increase the maximum margin between the classes also. It just try to increase that one. I just understand all the classes and it try to increase the margin by giving one value to the another class and giving another one value to the another classes. Likewise, it just try to increase the margin also. And by using a line, it can separate two groups. By using a different colors also, we can separate all the groups. Okay. As well as now we will see some advantages also. SVM having more advantages comparing to this decision tree. It will works on high dimensional data also, works well with and it can able to resolve the overfitting also, not able to uh, overfitting all time. It can work with the high dimensional data and resolve the work overfitting also. What the Okay. What was the disadvantages of the this algorithm? Means that was minimum amount of disadvantages only. It was if in case we use a large amount of data, means that was an expensive. That was this disadvantages. Now we will see one demo or also coding for that support vector machine, how it works, this and everything. Okay. Now we going to see classification model only. First, what I do means first imported that pandas as well as the same thing, and then as a new thing I just imported data set that was provided by the scikit-learn. From that scikit-learn, inside I have a data set modules. Inside the data set I want to import one data set that was an lower iris data set. This lower iris are nothing but based upon the sepal width and sepal length and the petal length, sepal width and petal width. It just predict a flower, what the flower was. Likewise, it can able to predict. That was this data set. It data consists of these values only: sepal length, sepal width, and petal width, and their flower name. This data is considered inside this load iris module. Now, after that, I created one variable in the name of iris, and then load my load iris data set. Now, this iris data is having these features. First, I have a data, these many data, and the target name of each data, and the target value of each data, and the target names of each data, and then a specification and what are and the column names and the description of the data set, who input the data set, all the description having inside the data set. But here the data set was not in a clean procedure, so I want to clean the data set. That was a pre-processing. First I am checking a data. Iris.data consists of only a x value, but it does not having the column names. It consists of only a x value, so I need to add the column name. In that iris.data set having a description, data modules, feature names, these all things. In these things I want only a data, uh, target, and then a feature names. These only needed, so you need to separate that one, filter out that one. So I create in the feature name having a sepal and sepal width. This was my column name. So I created a variable df, and by using a pandas library, I just loaded in a format, another one format. Before I say no, by using a three format, we can load it: series format, data frame model, data frame format, or also dictionary format, and then a normal Excel format. This was a second format. By using data frame format, I am importing x and y value. This iris dot data. This was my x value. So I given a x value and the column name as iris dot features name, and this was a data, and this was a column name for the data. Now I get a completely clean data set, but I didn't get a target value. So I want to add a target value in this data set. So I creating a target column name like a df target, and then loaded that iris dot target value. After that, I checking a head value. That times it's showing like all the terms clearly. And then target names. Now I want to know what target names. So what the floor these data is having. These data is having only three types of floors only. Three types of floors and it supple and supple with only. So I need to check that one. So Setosa, Vesnicolor, Virginica. These are the three floors present in the inside this module. So I need to add the target names also. Here I am checking whether it is target one means how many data is present like this. Just checking. And I want to add the flower name also. So created one column name as flower name and added my target names by using a lambda function. Lambda function nothing but we can use a multiple function or multiple coding in a single line. For that purpose I am using lambda and created a variable and call my variable df. It will shows like this. After that what we need to plot a data. We need to check the data now. So we just plotting the data. I just created three variable and target 0 I fitted target 0 in one variable and target 1 in next variable and target 2 in next variable. I just taking all the variable and I want to plot all this data. I just work against with the supple length and supple width and of df0 and supple and supple width of df1. It will shows like this. After the same thing I want to work against with the petal length and petal width. So I will given like this. You can use any variables. Okay. Up to this pre-process was completed. Now I need to do a feature extraction process and model selection process. Next I imported test and train split and I want to remove all the unwanted columns. Column over here. I create a variable x and then remove the target and flower name because in the x value I need to fit only a known value. In the target column I need to fit only a target column. So I fit this target and the flower name. Remove the target and flower name in the x column. So that means in the x variable and then fitted only a target column in the y variable. Now it will display like this. Now we need to do a next process. I splitted x and y. Now I want to split a train and test. Split for a train and test. Now say the same thing. I just created a four variable x train, x test and y test. And by using this inbuilt function train and test split, I just pass the x and y data. And for a testing purpose, I use 0.2%. That means 20% data will move on to testing purpose and another 18% data will move on to training purpose. Here I used 120 data for training and 30 data for testing. After that I just imported SVC algorithm. Directly imported SVC and created a variable model and then loaded that SVC algorithm and by using a fit syntax I fitted that 80% of data. Now my model was trained and showing accuracy as 1. Now I want to check the accuracy. I want to test the value. By using inbuilt in syntax predict, I just predict a value. I given a x value means it just predict what was the floor. By using in the array format, it will predict like this. Okay, 1 minute. Okay, this is the process that happens inside this SVM. In that SVM, I am using SVC algorithm only. Next, we will move on to random forest RF algorithm. It was also one of the important algorithm because it is one of the ensemble learning algorithm. That means it can do multiple. It is a combination of multiple decision tree algorithm and it is a combination of multiple result. And it can also ability to do classification as well as regression. Okay. Next, as usual, this random forest also will be majorly used for classification and we will use a minimum amount in the regression, not a minimum amount, not that much of used for a a regression. We majorly used for a classification, and also it having advantages and disadvantages. Advantages, it will show a high accuracy comparing to all other model, and it can be able to do large data set with missing values. Also, we can able to train by using an RF algorithm, but more it was more complex comparing with a single decision tree because it is a combination of more decision tree. So it was slightly difficult bit not a difficult, slightly slightly complex comparing to single tree, and it having more comparing to all other, it is the most important, and it having more advantages comparing to all other algorithm. So we need to so we directly move on to random forest algorithm. So for the random forest, I want to use another one data set which was given by a scikit-learn. That was a low digits data set. Low digits data set nothing but it having all the digit value. They having all the digits value, and also I having target values also for that. This is a target 0, 1, 2, 8, 9. This was a target, and this was a value. I want to use a digit data set, so I am importing the digit data set. Importing the digit data set and loaded in a variable of digits. This was a description directories present inside this digits data set. Here also I want to clear the data set. What are the data you want? You just filter out and then create a variable and then load your data. Okay, create a variable of df and then loaded by using a data frame. I only loaded a digital data inside the data frame and then checking a value. It just this was up to this was a x value only. I am not given any y value. Here I having a y value as target. So I created one variable as a target and loaded that target value. It will shows like this. Now I want to split the data set. So the same procedure only. I need to split the data set. Why I'm saying again and again means it was an important process in the machine learning. If in case you learn again and again means you will get a better idea in this test and why we need to split the test and training. These and all you have get a better idea. So I am saying again and again about this test and training. Okay, just import test and training, and then for this training purpose, I using 80% data, balance I using for testing purpose, and fitted x and y value. Now 1437 data I used for training, and balance I used for testing. Now from sklearn.ensemble. Ensemble is nothing but before I said it having a multiple algorithm properties in a single algorithm. That was an ensemble learning. This boosting algorithm also yes ensemble learning. We having more ensemble learning algorithm. Uh, this random forest classifier from the ensemble learning, I want to load a random forest classifier. If in case you want to use regression algorithm, means directly give like a random forest regressor, and I created a variable in name of random and load my random forest classifier and feed the 80% of data, and algorithm was trained. Now I want to check a score. That means check accuracy of an algorithm, and then I want to predict a x test before we give any one value, and then we can predict. But here I want to predict that other 20% data. For 80% data I use for a training, other 20% data I need to pass to algorithm, and I want to predict. So I given a x test and I want to predict the data. Here you printed this y predict means it will shows all the data, and I want to print a confusion matrix. The confusion matrix is nothing but it will work against that actual value and a predicted value. This is a work against y test value that was predicted by us now, and y test is already predicted, already having inbuilt value, and y predict is as predicted value, and we will display that classification report by using a support of matplotlib and cbond. Okay, we forgot about cbond. Cbond is nothing but same like as matplotlib, but it having more features comparing to that matplotlib. If in case you want to ask, you want to predict a value means you need to call all the x value and you can predict. Here I need to import a 63. I need a 63 x values. So I didn't want to predict the value again. If in case you want means you just give the 63 values in the x format, in array format, and then you can predict. That was also possible. Okay. Next, we will see one example for clustering also. First, we see example of regression, and then we move on to classification. After we will see the ensemble supervised algorithm. That means it can able to do classification as well as regression. After that, we see about a ensemble learning algorithm. Now we will see a clustering algorithm. Okay. For the clustering algorithm, we can directly type and we can check. Okay. Clustering, before I said by clustering, you just understand the properties of properties and features present inside the data set and then predicted a value. That was an explanation for clustering algorithm. Inside clustering, we having multiple algorithm. In that, I want to choose a k-means clustering algorithm, and then I'm going to use a data set as iris data set. Iris data set, I am going to use only a data, not a target values. In that iris having a target as well as a data, I want to use the data, not a target value. Based upon the data set, I want to filter out the data. Filter out the data into clustering part. I need to divide the data. Okay, first we need to import our data set from sklearn dot datasets import load iris. We just imported. After that, we need to import our clustering algorithm also. That also present inside this scikit-learn only. From sklearn dot cluster. Cluster, I want to import my k-means algorithm because I am going to use k-means only. So I am importing k-means algorithm and then import matplotlib dot pyplot as plt. Then I can run this cell. In case I run means it will import all the library packages. Here it's showing star means the cell was running. After that it will show us a number. Okay, I given like there was a spelling mistake. Data sets. Now my all the library package was imported. It shows a number, so it was imported. After that we need to load a data set. I just creating iris equal to load underscore iris. I just import the data and then I want to check the iris data value. I given like iris dot head and then okay, I will check the data. Now it's just showing a data. Now I want to fit the data. Now I create a variable of x equal to, and I want to fit that iris dot data. So I'm giving like iris dot data and then fit the data. Now this x variable having this iris dot data, and then I want to give the x value into this algorithm. So here I creating a variable like k means, and then I want to assign the x value. So here I'm mentioning k means that I already imported here. That I already imported here. So I'm using k means, and then I need to mention a cluster. I having a three types of data: Setosa, Vesnicolor, and Virginica. I think I having three types of classes. So here I'm mentioning like three cluster. N cluster is equal to cluster equal to 3. After that, choosing one random state. Random state is equal to, you can give any random values. You pick any random values. After that, I want to fit the data. Here I giving like a y underscore k means equal to K means this variable having the functionalities of this algorithm. So I am calling this K means, and then by using a fit syntax, I want to fit the data. I directly given like a fit predict. It will do a predict as well as a fit. I just passing the X value. Now my algorithm was fitted. So we will move on to next process. Next I want to plot the data, and I need to check the different classes. So I want to plot the data. So first we need to already we imported a math problem. So we directly call as PLT. That's enough. PLT dot I want to use a scatter plot. Sorry. PLT dot scatter, and then I need to mention my X value. X. Here I am mentioning the start and stop value. 0. After that same thing, X. I want a different classes. So one 0 was one class and another one class. I want to print that one. Okay. After that, creating C equal to this Y means. And then C map. These are all visualization part. Again I need to mention a plot because we want different plotting. So again I am mentioning that PLT dot scatter. So like this for one also I need to give. Yes, equal to 200. And need to mention a color. You can give any color. First I am going to give a red color, and then we can mention marker also. If in case we doesn't mention, we will plot a data. Given a marker like, and then we need to mention a label. Okay, now everything completed. Now we directly mentioning X label and Y label, and we can plot the data. Here I give like PLT dot X label as a supple length. Okay, here I giving a change as a Y axis. I want to name a Y axis. Next, if in case you want to mention title also, you can mention like a PLT dot title and open and close bracket. Inside that you can mention any title. Here I giving like a title. and then plt dot show used to display that okay, here I entered it 2 times. We plot the data. Okay, it will plot like this. It just created the three different cluster pointer. These are one cluster, these are one cluster, these are one cluster. Like this, it just divided into three different clusters. Okay, this is an example of cluster algorithm. So first we saw about linear regression. After that we move on to classification, and then we just saw the clustering algorithm. Okay, now we just going to see about one working demo of a machine learning model. If in case you have any doubt in this algorithm means, kindly text in a WhatsApp group. Tomorrow I just clear all your doubts. Now we are going to predict a crop and fertilizer. Based upon that, we want to predict crop and fertilizer for any field based upon their pH level, water level, and atmosphere, like potassium, these and all. By using these and all, we want to predict the crop as well as a fertilizer. First, I need to give a CMD, and I want to use a code editor as VS code. So I am mentioning as code space dot. This is a shortcut to open a VS code. Having a crop for crop prediction based on nitrogen, potassium, temperature, humidity, pH level, rainfall. By using in these condition, uh, it will grow rice. We can get a good quantity of rice. Likewise, we have a data. After that, in nitrogen, potassium, phosphorus, fertilizer, in these data, urea is a good fertilizer. Likewise, I having some data here. Nitrogen, sorry, nitrogen, potassium, these are all common. So I directly, it was easy to merge the two data. Now I want to create a first I want to create a machine learning for machine learning based upon their crop. After that, we need to create a machine learning model for the fertilizer, and then we need to merge it both thing to visualize the data. That same thing. First, we need to import all the required library packages. These are all the required library packages. I get numpy. These are required library packages. After that, we loaded our CSV file, and then we just drop the x value and then fit all the known values, and this is a classification report. And having a rice 100 values for a rice, that means 100 test data for a rice and 100 for maize. Likewise, I have an equal amount of data, so there is a minimum number of possibilities of overfitting and underfitting. So we can move on to next process. Next, we just plotting all these data. I just analyzing up to now. I just analyzing all the data, not changing anything. Now I want to wow, rice means one, maize means two. Like this, I giving a naming for the data. Now I created a x and y variable and fitted the crop number. I drop only a crop in the x and fitted only a crop in a y. And in the head value, we have perfectly having perfect data. So we no need to change about into numerical format. So we directly move on to next process. For having totally 2200 rows and then 7 columns. I just splitting a data set into 2 part, testing and training purpose. For a testing, I am using 0.2%. That means balance 80% will move on to training purpose. For training, I am using total, I think, two. Okay, total I have 2200 data. In the 2200, I'm using 1760 for training and balance 440 for testing. Next, I use the Minimax scalar. This is nothing but used to understand the feature information from the data. So, used to understand the relation between that one data and another data, and the difference between the one data and another data. These are all understand by using this standard scalar. Standard scalar, Minimax scalar. We can use any scalars. Here I importing standard scalar and then adding standard scalar also. After that, I am going to use these algorithms and I want to check accuracy of this algorithm and I will import a model. The accuracy of the algorithm was 0.9, 0.9. It shows like this. Everything AdaBoost having a lower accuracy. Other than that, I having a good accuracy in all the models. So I can deploy any model. The accuracy ranges from 0 to 1. Now I want to import Navy bias algorithm and I want to check accuracy. I need to pass the data and I need to check accuracy. That same procedure only. And they check the precision recall F1 score and the accuracy of an algorithm. This precision recall F1 score, this is used to helpful to understand the accuracy of a model. And the confusion matrix, this is nothing but a confusion matrix is it will work against that actual value and a predicted value. It will shows like this. The same thing, MLP classifier. I use MLP classifier here and fitted the model and checking the accuracy. And I want to plot the confusion matrix also. Same for all other models. Finally, I will dump the model. I just checking the performance of all the models. Navy was having this much of performance, precision, having this much of precision value, and the recall value, F1 score, and accuracy. It having more accuracy compared to all other models, all other neural networks. So I want to dump this model. Here I dump the Navy bias model. After I run this, it will create a dump model like this. Now I want to now I done all the process for crop recommendation and I dump the model also. Now I want to create a Python file. That means I want to create a model for fertilizer as well as we done before. I need to import a model. I need to pass the data. I need to convert. If in case they're having a numerical words, means we need to convert the data for numerical term. These are a plotting of this each data. We just checking the each data. And then splitting a x and y value. In that y value, I remove the fertilizer name because I want to predict a fertilizer name. In that y value, I just only fitted a fertilizer name. And then split data set for 2 for testing and training. Here I used 0.7% for training, balance 30% for testing. Here 0.7 we need to train, 0.2 we need to test. Balance 10% we can use in training as well as testing based upon our preference and overfitting and underfitting. Based under analyzing about these things, we need to select a testing and training value and use a standard scalar to understand the feature information from the data set and directly fit the data. Now I want to import a random forest. Here I used a random forest. Why means random forest having a more accuracy compared to all other algorithms, and it was also one of the ensemble learning. That was also one of the preference for this random forest classifier. And then fitted the 80% data and then check the test values, and this was a confusion matrix for that. For that and accuracy, as accuracy it will give like a 1. That means it will predict accurately. Here I will change that encoded that original terms also. These are all the fertilizer names. I will change the fertilizer names into numerical format also. And using another one, neural networks. Neural networks comes under deep learning that we will discuss in the discuss detailedly about the neural networks in the next upcoming classes. Neural networks, because that was the most important topic, and it was compared to machine learning, that was more interesting. because this machine learning having some complex problem like we need to split the data set, we need to separate and use for training purpose. This everything we need to do, but in the deep learning we just created one folder and fit all the x value and y value. We no need to worry about anything, it will automatically trained by itself and will predict the data. Comparing to machine learning, uh, deep learning was having a less work but little bit complex also, but having less work comparing to this. If in case you want to annotate the image means that time you can having a more work. This is the accuracy of this neural network. So we can implement use any algorithms, we can deploy any algorithms here. Okay, this was a difference between this algorithm, random forest neural networks, and another random forest neural networks. I will check with each specification, memory usage, log loss value. I can check every value and then only I need to get one confirmation which model I need to use. Here it having more good values in this random forest comparing to neural networks. In the neural network, only precision score was more, but this recall and F1 score was less only. So I directly use this um, random forest algorithm. After that, I need to pickle that I need to dump that model. So I dump this random forest model. I use this neural networks model. After running this, I just created this navy bias model is created from that crop, and this random forest model is created from that fertilizer. Now I want to deploy this both model into my front end. So I am creating a front end. This was created by a Flask framework. This was created by a Flask framework. I just connected both of my backend files and how we need to answer everything I just given, and I linked my front end also by using a routing method. This everything I explained in the before classes also. How it is our routing, how it renders, this everything, why we need to use get and post method. This everything I explained in the before classes. These are the input files. You need to you need to do all the input file input, all the process like this, and then you need to enter into the index.html index.html page itself. You need to understand all the values, and then we need to move on to index.html. Okay. First we will try with the app2.py. I just open the new terminal and then I want to run the application. Here Python, and my application name was here. I mentioned here which programming language we're going to use, also which APK we're going to use. Mention here, and then Python app2.py. After I give enter means we will create a local host. Local host nothing but it just run in our system only. We are not able to transfer this local host to any other uh, others. If in case you want to transfer means you need to convert the local host to a global host by using any other cloud computing technology like AWS, Azure. You can use it anything, and then you need to transfer your global host. Okay, now it was my local host. After I clicking that, it will move on to my website. This was my initial page, index start page. If in case I click get started means it will move on to next pages. In the next pages, we just ask all the input values from me. I given like a this is my last entered value. I need to enter nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, temperature, humidity. These all values you can enter manually also. If in case you know these all details means you can enter it manually. Now I want to having some last used data, so I directly give all the data and then going to click this predict value. In case I give the predict value means it move on to the next page. In that next page it just understand all the data, all the input data and predict the crop. These kind of input means we can better use PGNPs. We can use better PGNPs, and as a fertilizer we can use 10 26 26. This was a fertilizer name, and we can give a go back to it will move on to our initial page and then click get started, and we can modify any data. Here I want to modify data. As a nitrogen I am giving 70. As a phosphorus I want to give a 22 something. As a potassium I want to give like a 83, and temperature we will give a minimum as 10, or else a minimum temperature like uh, 5 or 6, and the humidity 40, and the pH level as 4, and the rainfall as we will increase the rainfall to 70. After that we need to give a predict function, means you just understand the pattern. Okay, these patterns also match with this crop with this fertilizer, but we can in this climatic condition we can get more yield in coffee. We can use coffee. Likewise, it just predicted. Okay, this was a process happens inside that. Once I will recall it, listen it once again. What is the first procedure? Means first we need to collect the data sets. This was my data set. After that, we need to create an IPYB file or else any Python file, and then we need to import all our data set. We need to import our data set, and then we need to clean and pre-process the data set, and then we need to split the data set into two part, testing and training purpose, and then we need to split on x and y. If in case that data set having a wordings, means we need to convert the word into numerical format. After that that same thing, and then we need to use any other models, and we need to check accuracy and dump the model, and as well as same for a fertilizer also. That same thing, we need to deploy a model and dump the model, and then I want to use a Flask framework. In the Flask framework is used to connect all the backend, frontend, and a database. Here I don't have any database, I having only a frontend and backend, so I directly use a frontend and backend. If in case you have a database, means by using a local host you can connect the data set. Sorry, database. It all the data will be store over here, and I connected a backend here and a front end here, and I need to open a terminal. In the terminal I need to run my file. I'm using a Python, so I'm mentioning a Python here, and I want to run a app2.py file, so I'm mentioning app2.py file, and then giving enter. It will create a local host. After I clicking the local host, it will move on to my website. In that website it will show this as a first page, and I need to click a get started, and I need to enter all the x values. Phosphorus 40, potassium 22, temperature 22, humidity 40, pH level 6, rainfall as 200. Give enter means 10, 26, 26, and we can use PGNPs. I think we having more fertilizer on 10, 26, 26. It is a common fertilizer for all the crop. I think we having more data on this. We can check that also. 10, 26, 26, 10, 26, 26. We having more data on 10, 26, 26. That means this was a common fertilizer for um, all the crops. Okay, we will stop over here. If in case you have any doubt, or else you need any support, means you just kindly message through WhatsApp. We will reply to you, or else I will explain that about the topic clearly in the next classes. Okay. Okay, once again thank you for your valuable time. Thank you. We will wind up the session. over here. Okay, thank you for your valuable time. We will share the attendance link through WhatsApp. We will wind up the session now.